at the end of it, but as you can see on your screens, there is the Education Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohamed. These results are coming to us earlier than usual at this time of the year. The exams, of course, as I said, began on October 30th. They then ended in November, and this is the first time that they are coming to us sooner. So many people probably glued onto TV screens or the radios waiting to find out how they fared. There were about 1 million pupils that sat this year's examinations, so plenty across the country. There will be a 100% transition of pupils to secondary schools. The Cabinet Secretary for Interior, Fred Matiang'i, had tasked chiefs to ensure that all children within their jurisdiction, their area of jurisdiction, will join secondary school. So that, of course, is a key development this year. And remember that last year the government started day wings in various boarding schools to cater for more children in need of such opportunities in secondary schools. So plenty of developments coming this year. There were about 2,481 candidates with special needs. That's out of the around 1 million candidates that sat the exams. And 531,548 were boys, and also 20 machines were used to mark the exams in the period of 2 weeks. Let's cross over and listen in live.
Wana hamu na ghamu ya kusikia yaliyopo. Ya Allah, tashukuru kwa kutuletea viongozi wetu salama salimin. Ya Allah, wajaalie viongozi wetu hawa tulionao hapa tukiongozwa na waziri wetu pamoja na mwenyekiti wetu wa mitihani pamoja na CEO wetu TSC na wenzake wote waliokuja hapa. Ya Allah, wape afya njema, wape busara, wape hikma, kuendeleza vizuri gurudumu hili la mtihani la elimu katika nchi yetu tukufu ya Kenya. Ya Allah, viongozi wote waliofika hapa, tupe siha njema, tusamehe madhambi yetu na wasamehe waliotangulia mbele za haki. Ya Allah, wajaalie watoto wetu wawe ni wenye kufaulu katika ulimwengu huu na kesho akhira, viwe ni vizazi vyema vyenye kuongoza nchi yetu siku za usoni. Ya Allah, tuletee amani nchini mwetu. Ya Allah, wape busara viongozi wetu, kiongozi wetu mtukufu, rais wetu, kiongozi wetu wa taifa, pamoja na viongozi wote. Tuletee amani nchini mwetu, tuletee upendo. Ya Rabbi, tujalie kila la khairi uwe ni mwenye kutuletea. Ya Allah, takuomba yote haya kwa majina yako 99. Amin, amin, amin.
Thank you very much. We are also joined by our area member of parliament, Mheshimiwa Abdul Samad. Now, starting, we want to do a very brief introduction, beginning with the County Director of Education and TSA County Director. Ambassador, please rise up. Thank you. Can we have the Sub-County Directors of Education, please? Wherever you are, stand up. We have picked on few of the representatives because of the important function they do in terms of the management of exams. We have invited here again our unions, the teacher unions, NARD. Please rise up. Thank you. We also invited KCPE, kindly stand up wherever you are. Thank you. We have invited representatives of various stakeholders. Our TSC Sub-County Director, kindly rise up, and TSC officers present. Thank you. All the public primary schools, head teachers, wherever you are, kindly rise up. Thank you. Thank you, please. The head teachers from the private schools, the representative we have requested to come, kindly rise up. Thank you. We also invited representatives of our boards of management. Wherever you are, BOM members, kindly rise up. We also invited the Parents Association, PA members, wherever you are, kindly rise up. Thank you. We invited the County Education Board. We were to join by our chairman, and he promised to be here, and the members. Thank you. And all other invited guests whom I cannot mention all of them. All of you are most welcome. May I now take this opportunity to invite our CEO, NEC, Madam Mercy Karamo, to take over this program. Thank you.
I want to take this opportunity to thank the organizers of this function for the release of KCPE 2018 and all of us who have come here. CS, let me take this opportunity on behalf of ourselves to congratulate all the candidates who successfully completed KCPE 2018 for having come this far for the last 8 years and having successfully done the examinations. We also want to take this opportunity to thank the teachers, to thank the parents, the guardians, and all the other professionals, contracted professionals, who in one way or the other participated in the whole of this process to ensure that the results we release are credible. We want to applaud each one of you. We also want to applaud the media for successfully and making sure that we are all in sync with one another in the whole of this process. I also wish to thank the candidates once again for they got into the classes, sat for examinations, and that's what our cabinet secretary will be releasing today. We want to thank you most sincerely. I won't take a lot of time, but for me was to thank each one of you, even the organizers, and to take this opportunity to call my chairman of the council, Professor George Magoha, to come and make his remarks. Thank you.
God is good, and all the time. I want to take a minute to talk about myself. Mimi najua, I know mimi ni sura mbaya. And everything that I touch with these hands is blessed and gets to the end. And I'm starting from that point because I was trained in a Starehian way. And I want to thank His Excellency the President for allowing the special schools run by churches to be run by churches. I also want to ask him in this forum, even though I was with him in the morning, I thought it wasn't good to ambush him, to look at the case of Starehe Boys Center, which is a special school for the poor, run for the poor like myself, who should not have been where I am. And the reason I'm saying this is that everything that I have done in this country, I've been to universities, I've trained many surgeons, but everything that has been driving me is the training that I got at Starehe Boys Center. So please leave Starehe alone. If there are thieves there, arrest them and take them to court and let the law take its course. Otherwise, from my point of view, I will give my last drop of blood to Starehe Boys Center. I thought I would say that very clearly and openly, that nobody should come and destroy what has worked for the past 50 years. Ladies and gentlemen, Madam CS, it is now 3 odd years since I was appointed to this position by His Excellency the President, at first against my own personal will and desire. But being the President, I said, let me go and see, because I didn't know anything about primary school or high school. I want to say here now that both the President, the Minister then in charge of Education, General Kaiseri, who was then in charge of Interior, and Mucheru, who was in charge of ICT, we sat together and agreed that there was going to be a multi-agency approach to this process. And the President confirmed to us that anything that we wanted was going to be given. I want to affirm here and now that since we discovered the container system, everything we have wanted has been provided. I believe in performance targeting, which means I start from the end. I don't lobby. So if you are to judge us with what you can measure. And I think the rest is history. I want to start by commending those people who started to re-engineer the examination process, and also the one who is continuing with it, Madam Amina Mohamed, and move on from there to say that we have recognized the special agencies without whom we may not have had control of the examination. I told you 1,000 times that the examination has not leaked. But because I am a Kenyan, nobody believed me. Can we get faith back into our own country? Because we still saw you, a few of you doing funny things, buying fake papers and so on. So this examination has been credible, it has not leaked, it was set by Kenyans and managed by Kenyans, and you can see the results are going to be given to you by our leader, who is Amina Mohamed. That's the first point. Clap for yourself. What are you waiting for? The second point, ladies and gentlemen, NEC and government have not taken our teachers for granted. Our teachers are great teachers by all standards. And the work that they have done, you have seen that this year they have marked this exam with 2 extra days to spare. Last year we delivered on 21st, today we are delivering on 19th. There are busybodies out there who will think, well, but how can this happen? You have so much capacity that in my most humble view, you are just using maybe up to 60% of it. If you have to use 80%, things can even be better. So I want to salute and celebrate the majority of our teachers who have taken part in setting the questions, moderating them, proofreading them, giving them to candidates, marking them, and now giving us the results back to announce to you. We must not take this for granted. But my charge to you is that we can do better than this. Let people not say, well, how come? If everything is ready, why should we wait? Secondly, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached a stage now where we have agreed that cheating is in the past. A very small percentage of teachers, education officers, TSC officials, even NEC people, and some what have yous out there, are still in the habit of trying to expose the exam prematurely. You should be ashamed of yourself, because we shall not allow you. Because you can ask yourself, if we are dealing with over 1 million, and we have only cancelled 4 cases, which is basically not something that you can worry about. Stop wasting your time. I'm not going to talk about the results, because the results are going to be released by the CS in charge of education. But I can tell you that I'm very, very happy indeed that those people who still have doubts in their minds should actually join us in moving forward with what we are doing. Before I take too much time, I want to say one thing. It is good enough for us to say that we are getting somewhere, but the question I and you and the minister and even the president, the question they should be asking is, as Kenyans, are we going to sustain this, or are we going to import people to sustain it? And my question to you is, why should we not be able to sustain it? Why? It's unfortunate that my son is already old, but if I had another one, I would accept the result he gives me wholeheartedly and support him through life. Finally, allow me, Madam CS, to talk to parents through this medium. Our parents have failed, maybe me included. Why do you produce children? Why do you produce children when you have no time for them? It is like extra baggage. Children just grow. Do you get the point? To the extent that even when God gives you back the children for 2 months, say, but what are we going to do with them? It is our duty to ensure that we spend some quality time with our children. And I would say amen to that, and I hope we mean it. Because you cannot allow your child, I see some things in the social media which I cannot mention here. A child who is not even 10, 11 years, you are allowing your child to sneak out at night. How stupid can you be? If you cannot make sure you know where your child is at that time in the night. And God was very kind of you to give you the child. Let's stop crying foul about pregnancies. We are responsible for them. As a practicing surgeon, I will tell you that if you are not, it doesn't matter how well a doctor you are. If you are absent when you are required, then you are non-existent. You shouldn't even be there. So if you are a parent where you are either looking for drugs, or you are in the bar, or you are with your friends doing other things, and your children are getting pregnant before they even get 15, do you think God was too kind for you? He should not have allowed you to have a child. So that, Madam CS, I'm emphasizing this. I know you'll talk about it, but we have to treat the cause, not the symptom. Stop shouting, we will give them another exam. Who has told you that we are going to give them another exam? Make sure your children don't get pregnant. What are you talking about? Madam CS, let me leave it there just to say that I am very happy, but I want to quote Charlie Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin says, no condition is permanent. You get the point? And you should just do your best when you are there. Do your best. If God takes me tomorrow, so be it. Stop thinking about things which are mundane and beyond you. So why don't we do the same? So that once you have taught the children, stop behaving like a chocolate, passing a paper out across the window. You are a teacher, and teachers are next to God, for heaven's sake. And I'm talking about less than 0.1%, but they are there. Are we together? I personally am a teacher. I've taught for over 41 years. And therefore, I can afford to tell you what I'm telling you, because I've also gone through the whole process. So can we get our country back together, and all this nonsense of applying so much money in the process of examining stops? Because at Tarek Boys Center, when I did my exam 50 years ago there was one teacher with the exams in the boot of his car. He was black like me. We did the exam and he went away with it. He was also black. What has happened to us? That is my parting message to you. Thank you very much.
The CS, PS, Professor Magoha, the CEO NEC, Honorable Sharif, the unions represented here today, our head teachers, the media, colleagues in the education sector, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Yes, I wish to join the Professor Magoha, in thanking our teachers most sincerely for doing a terrific job, even at the very difficult circumstances. One, you know that our teachers have prepared pupils from when they joined Standard 1 to when they started the 8 examinations. And to an extent this year, and I think the minister will be reporting this, we have improved performance. And so I think clap for our teachers. We have always talked about teachers, but they do something good in this country. They mold the future of this country, and without them, where will the future be? I'm very proud on behalf of the Commission about our teachers. Secondly, they have been fantastic. They even reported suspect incidences, and we shall be recognizing such teachers at the TSE in a very special way within the recognition and awards policy, and we will further submit their names for consideration for the head of state commendations. It is time we sang songs of heroes, and teachers are heroes in this country. However, Madam Waziri, allow me, having said that, to just point out that we have a few teachers who are involved in irregularities, abetting, impersonation, and cheating. But this does not mean that it's all teachers. Most of our teachers are good and patriotic. This is just like they say in my community, that in one bag of potatoes, there will be one or two rotten ones. So allow me to talk about these two or one. The majority of our teachers are really good. But we had some of these teachers who are involved in impersonation and cheating in the exams, and we have initiated disciplinary process. They will be dealt with expeditiously and ruthlessly, like we have always done, because we are saying now, as we have always said, even in the past, we can't allow a few miscreants to destroy the future of our children. Sidio? We can't, and I think we should join the rest of the people in this country who are very focused on getting our children to have a very good future. I also urge managers of private schools to employ teachers who are registered by TSE and who have TSE numbers, and who therefore must abide by the code of regulations, and which must always be at the disposal of staff in schools. Because if we do not do this, and we have the one or two potatoes in that bag, how then shall we protect our children? Do you get what I mean? Because I know in this room we have parents, we have BOMs. Please engage teachers who have TSE numbers, and let us have all the statutory documents in the staff rooms. Madam Waziri, as we went monitoring, and God willing, we shall continue monitoring exams. And even after the exam period, we shall be visiting schools, and the first thing we shall be asking for is the code of regulations and all other statutory documents that govern teaching in this country. So we must know that pupils must be handled by TSE registered teachers right from entry to the time they exit. That is the time they set exams, and we let them go from our schools. So we shall be doing all this, and there is no room for quacks. Should we have quacks in our schools to handle our children? So we are giving notice that we have no room for quacks in the teaching profession, and that should we find any manager or BOM even in public schools that has floated this regulation, then we shall be writing to the ministry to have such institutions deregistered. There is no exception in this. As I move on, I want also to talk about something that has affected the country, and I think Professor has alluded to it. The Commission is alarmed, like everyone else, by the large number of teenage pregnancies. Of concern is that some of our head teachers, unfortunately, I don't know what to say about this as I stand here, that some of our head teachers and teachers into whose care these children are entrusted are complicit. The Commission is taking this very seriously, and those found to be guilty will be dealt with accordingly. In the month of October alone, TSE dismissed and deregistered 32 teachers for involving in sexual relationships with students. These persons have since been gazetted and are on our website. School managers, public and private, should be careful not to engage such persons in our schools. And please, because we have parents, the parents who are in these schools and the BOMs, ensure that we do not allow pests, because that's what they are, isn't it? We do not allow pests into our schools because they are gazetted, and two, they are on our website. You can check. You can even write to the Teacher Service Commission and ask, is this a qualified teacher? Does that teacher have any issues? And you will be advised. We also ask other government agencies to deal with the criminal aspects of these cases in accordance with the law. After we take professional action, we are asking other agencies, because we are working in a multi-agency field, for them to take these cases and deal with them on the criminal aspect where we can't. So like I have said, we can't allow a few people to ruin the future of our children. But the next thing I want to ask is, as a society, we must do some retrospection. What's happened to our moral fabric? What has happened? Are we asking ourselves the same? The children who are entrusted to us, we are the people who are now leading to them literally to the devil's dens. Parents are relegating everything to the teacher. Yes, Madam Waziri, I think this is a conversation after we did these exams we should talk about. Because although we blame the teachers almost always for everything, the parents have delegated everything, every moral authority to the teacher. What is the teacher supposed to do? They are teaching, yes, they must also take that other part of a parent, but what is the parent doing? This is a conversation I think we need to have, because what's wrong with our moral fabric? We can't take care of our young. What's the problem? So as I conclude, let me take this opportunity on behalf of the Commission, as I said when I was beginning my remarks, to specifically thank 3 teachers who gave exemplary service and went beyond the call of duty during this year's KCPE exam season. This report has come from NEC. They gave exemplary service, and this is not to say that others did not perform well. These 3 are just a representation of the many others out there whom we are extremely proud of. As NEC reconciles and audits its data and reports, we might get more names of teachers whose performance surpassed expectations. So let's give a round of applause to these 3 teachers. One is called Beladine Dosio, Boro Dida, Mohamed Hassan. They went beyond. You are not giving a good one for such teachers. So thank you. These teachers, I have received a report from NEC. They went beyond the call of duty to serve the nation and do the unexpected for our children. We shall be rewarding them at the Teacher Service Commission. We shall also be giving out these names for consideration for the head of state commendations. Finally, however, like we always say, there will always be the flip side. We shall also be instituting disciplinary action on 26 teachers found to have abetted exam irregularities during the KCPE exam season. Finally, I wish to, on behalf of the TSE fraternity, to extend our condolences to the family and Alliance Girls fraternity for the death of one of the candidates this year, Nikita Saleh Koye, who died on Friday. She was a bright student, and we are the poorer for losing her. May she rest in peace. I wish you well. Thanks for listening to me. Have happy and blessed festivities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, my sister Nancy. The Cabinet Secretary for Education, Dr. Amina Mohamed, the Chair, National Examination Council, CEO TSE, the CEO NEC. I would want to acknowledge and appreciate the presence of our MP, Sharif Nasir, who is here. I'll give him in a short while to also greet us. All my colleagues who are here, Sister Ruth Mushoki, who is hosting us here. We shall also have at some point to say thank you. I would want to most sincerely thank all of us for having had an opportunity to come to be with us today as we celebrate our children. It is a day that we are celebrating our children, we are celebrating what they have done, we are celebrating the investment that we have had in them, and as parents today, as a parent myself and as parents today, let's celebrate our children as soon as our Cabinet Secretary releases results, because what we shall receive in these results are the best that our children could give us. These are the best that our children could give us. Let's celebrate the best of our children. Let's not look like we are waiting for anything else other than what our children has given us. Is that okay? So today, we should be celebrating our children. I will not take so much time. I would want to acknowledge the chair on behalf of our team at the Kenya National Examination Council. I would want to acknowledge our sister Nancy for the work that they have done. Most of the contracted professionals are teachers, and therefore what they have done is so much. But I would want to directly acknowledge our head teachers, today here represented by Ruth and the rest of us who are here. Because you are our real heroes, I can say that for sure. Our head teachers and our security teams are our real heroes. These are the people who wake up every morning to go to the container. They go back in the afternoon to return the papers. Our CS will be waking up every morning like they do, but she has an option. Just like myself and the chair. But our head teachers, our security people, they do not have an option. They do it for our children. Let's celebrate them for their work. And I would want to appreciate our whole team. We have a whole team. On behalf of the technical team in the ministry and the sector, I would want to thank our team. Today, on behalf of that team, I have RC, Bwana Dwale. The other team leader is Bwana Odwor, who is our County Director, Teacher Management. I'm saying these two because they lead our technical teams on the ground in doing what they have been doing. I say thank you very much, our technical team. Finally, I would want to make a commitment. As an accounting officer in the ministry, we shall make sure that as the CS will be announcing, as we place our children in Form 1, that in January we shall make sure that the resources that they require to be in school will be in school. As we are all aware, we pay 22,000 shillings per child. We shall make sure that money is there. We shall make sure that the necessary books are there. We are giving that commitment so that, just like last year, we make sure every one of our children, every one of that child will be in Form 1 next year. But again, I would want to congratulate them. I would want to congratulate our children for the good work that they have done. And once again, our parents and our teachers, let's accept the results of our children. Let's accept the results of our children. And to continue from where my sister Nancy and our chair, Magoa, let's take care of our culture. Let's take care of our culture. We shall hold everyone responsible for messing up our child, but more, we shall hold ourselves more responsible as parents for not doing that which we are expected to do. Our children are the best gift that come from God, and if they are the best gift that God has given us, then we have to do everything to make sure that gift is well taken care of. Otherwise, whoever gave us the gift will be annoyed with us, and we don't want our God to be annoyed with ourselves. So let's take good care of that gift that God has given to us, and make sure that we protect them against all of us who might want to do anything that's not right. On my professional colleague, the teachers, as a teacher myself, having taught in high school, the teaching profession is a noble profession. Let's take good care of it. You know, it's like you have been given a patient, like Professor Magoha, who is a surgeon. You are given a patient, and while the patient is on the operation table, a doctor takes advantage of that patient. You can imagine that as a professional. That is what we are doing, some of us and a few of us, as teachers who are professionals. That in our own theater, the classroom, that we do that which we should not be doing as professionals. Let's do the right thing. Finally, CS, I know you will mention it, is that we shall do a massive reassessment of our school environment so that we make sure our children are in friendly schools in terms of the environment in which our children learn. That schools which do not fit to be schools, then we shall do reassessment and see what to do with them as we move forward. Before I invite the Cabinet Secretary, please allow me, now that Mheshimiwa is with us and is our host, to make some comments. Thereafter, I will invite the Cabinet Secretary. Karibu Mheshimiwa.
I think the worldwide are totally anxious to get the CS to be the one holding this microphone, and I think I'm hoping that I'm not being cursed by viewers at home and they're like, sasa nauna ameshika microphone ata. But mine is to say a big thank you. I want to take the opportunity to congratulate you. Not every other day that you see such kind of zeal and enthusiasm coming from the education fraternity. And this, of course, there's no ship that can be able to lead man into high seas unless that ship has proper forms of rudder. And that is under your able leadership. I've been honored to be able to meet with you in various education platforms within the constituency and out of the constituency as well. So I need to say this, I've told this to you in person, but in public as well, that I congratulate you. The exams went very, very well. To the teachers, I know a majority of you, probably all of you that are present in this very room are people we know each other on a personal level because of our day-to-day engagement. But I need to take the opportunity equally again to congratulate you as well. It is not easy, as Professor has rightfully put it. The CS and our likes as well, we'll wake up in the morning, but it is not us who will be going to the containers to ensure that utmost responsibility is done. So I want to congratulate each and every one of you. And to my fellow parents at home, I want to just give this to you as a challenge. The results are going to be out very, very shortly. Accept the child with the results that they were able to get. Not every child is born to be an architect. Not every child is born to be a doctor. Not every child is born to be a teacher, but every child is born to be special in their own way. So let us accept those results in the right manner, and I wish every single one of those candidates the best of luck, as I wish the country very, very happy holidays ahead of us. Thank you very, very much. Cheers.
Thank you very much, Mheshimiwa. It's that time that I know 1 million children out there waiting for. It's now my humble duty to invite the Cabinet Secretary to address us and thereafter release the results. Karibu Waziri.
Yeah, I think it's fine. Thank you. Okay. Assalamu alaikum. The Principal Secretary, State Department of Early Learning and Basic Education of the Ministry of Education, Dr. Belio Kipsang, the Honorable Abdul Samad Sharif Nasir, MP from Vita, the Chairperson, the Kenya National Examinations Council, Professor George Magoha, the Chief Executive Officer, Teacher Service Commission, Dr. Nancy Masharia, Chief Executive Officer, Kenya National Examinations Council, Dr. Masi Karogo, NEC Council members who are present here with us this afternoon, senior officials from the Ministry of Education, representatives from the teachers' unions, NAT and KUPPET, the Kenya Private Schools Association, the Kenya National Parents and Teachers Associations, the heads of associations for primary and secondary schools present, our host, Sister Ruth Mchoki, members of the media fraternity, parents who are here, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome to the release of the 2018 Kenya Certificate of Primary Education examination results. The first one since I assumed office in February of this year. I'm therefore honored to complete this critical process in the schooling lives of 1,052,364 young candidates, the highest number of candidates in the last decade. We did it in record time too, and we are happy to help our children in their transition to the next level of education. Ladies and gentlemen, I commend the Kenya National Examinations Council, the Teacher Service Commission, the entire multi-agency coordination team comprising the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Interior, and ICT for efficient and purposeful execution of this national exercise. I also thank teachers and parents who played a big role in preparing the candidates to sit for the examinations. Most importantly, I congratulate the KCPE class of 2018 for their dedication, for their rigor, for their enthusiasm during the examination process. I interacted with many of them when I visited their schools during the year, and especially during the 3 examination days. I have no doubt in my mind, ladies and gentlemen, that these young men and women will do well in the next stages of their education. Indeed, and in the words of Theodore Roosevelt, the credit belongs to you. It's only you who know the great enthusiasm and the great devotion of this worthy cause. I hope that today you appreciate the greatness of your achievements and the promise of your transition. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the 2018 exams marked the 3rd year since the Ministry of Education launched deliberate and concrete new measures to end a culture of cheating that had become the hallmark of our national examinations. Since then, we have kept learning and improving our systems to seal all possible loopholes and improve these systems to ensure that they're not exploited by cheating cartels. As a result of these measures, the 2018 national examinations were conducted on one of the most level playing fields ever. We have completely wiped out cases where examinations were leaked with much abandon. And once again, I want to assure you today that none of the 9 papers administered in KCPE was leaked. Ladies and gentlemen, the few cases of attempted cheating through early exposure at the examination centers were all nipped in the bud, and we dealt with them decisively and conclusively. These results are therefore a pure and true reflection of hard work. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the most notable aspects of the 2018 KCPE administration was the laudable involvement of all government officials in the monitoring exercise. His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta and Deputy President William Ruto physically led the multi-agency coordination team by visiting examination centers to assure candidates that the examinations were fair and that all of them would transition to secondary school. My cabinet colleagues, chief administrative secretaries and principal secretaries also crisscrossed our beautiful country to ensure that the examination administration ran smoothly and that all the rules and regulations that were set up were actually adhered to. This unprecedented coordinated engagement guaranteed that the reach of high-level monitoring and motivation apparatus to all the 47 counties, including hard-to-access sub-counties in expansive, arid and semi-arid lands. We in government have delivered as one. A few people have questioned the essence of this level of monitoring in a manner to suggest no value at all. A few years ago, when examinations were leaked left, right and center, there was hue and cry that the government in general and the Ministry of Education in particular was slipping on the job and leaving the country's academic qualifications exposed to ridicule and rigorous scrutiny by others. As a result, Kenyan graduates were shunned by regional and international employers for perceived weaknesses in the conduct of our examinations. It's therefore surprising to all of us that the ministry's unrelenting resolve to restore utmost esteem to Kenya's academic papers threatens some of us. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to make a firm assertion this morning regarding this issue. I'm extremely proud of the gains that we have made by safeguarding integrity against dishonesty. I'm proud of the future we have created and continue to create for our children. We have restored the international standing of Kenya's primary and secondary school certificates, the culture that is emerging and being championed by candidates whose value for education is sheer grit is encouraging, and it will pay off in the long run. I want to assure you that we will not relent. We will not change. Our feet will remain on the pedal, for we know that it's useless for us to deliver papers to examination centers and leave them to criminals to organize mini command centers intended purely to contaminate individual candidates' lives and the collective future of our country. My duty to our children and to the future of this country is clear vindication that no matter the attempted destruction from quarters that abhor change and glorify impunity, change has indeed come and will continue to come until we have completely broken the curse of examination cheating. Ladies and gentlemen, furthermore, the ministry has done a cost-benefit analysis and concluded that the cost of administering national examinations is far much lower compared to the shame, the ridicule, the indignity, and the potential joblessness that will subject millions of our children whose results are either cancelled due to cheating or whose certificates stand to be frowned upon by all and sundry. The opportunity cost scenario must make sense to all of us. We will invest a little more to teach our children the desired ethos, the values that we need, and patriotism, and we will do this at an early age. We have no apologies to make, ladies and gentlemen, and we expect that the short, medium, and long-term results will justify the need for continued vigilance. I believe that the basic value system of a country comes from the system of education. Ladies and gentlemen, over the 3 years of KCPE, the country woke up to the reality that the rate of teenage pregnancies in the country is puzzlingly high. Initial reports suggested that only about 9 cases of births involving candidates took place during the 3 days of KCPE. To understand the depth of this national challenge, I ordered the Quality Assurance and Standards Directorate in the ministry to work with relevant departments and give me a report for further action. Although the team has yet to finalize its report, Preliminary statistics actually show that the magnitude of the problem is far bigger than we had initially thought. We are staring a national crisis in the face. I have directed the team to expand the scope of the analysis to complete the survey in all primary and secondary schools in the country across a 3-year period, 2016 to 2018. I wish to caution the country that the problem of underage pregnancies must not be viewed as a burden of the Ministry of Education alone. We in the ministry broke the silence. It's a multi-sectoral challenge that calls for concerted efforts across a broad spectrum of prayers for it to be stemmed. The law, ladies and gentlemen, is clear on defilement, and none of us is above the law. We're dealing with a complex issue, and we will work with all relevant government agencies to effect the urgent changes that are required. The Teacher Service Commission has taken firm and decisive action, as you have heard, against teachers found culpable of defiling learners. I want to thank Dr. Macharia for the really quick action that she took. There is also a standing ministerial team finalizing standard operating procedures to be rolled out in schools to increase safety and security. The PS has referred to that. We must and will make schools safe and secure zones for every child in our country. In addition, I call on parents, guardians, and members of the community to play the role in inculcating good behavior and protecting our children. We must reject the individualism of child responsibility and honor the wisdom of our ancestors that it takes a village to raise a child. We all have a responsibility to protect God's gifts. I particularly appeal to parents with children who walk to and from school to pay particular attention to the time these children leave home. I issued clear guidelines a few weeks ago on schooling time, and I expect those guidelines to be followed to the letter. We will not compromise the safety of our learners for a few extra hours of tuition. I'm going to repeat that. We will not compromise the safety of our children for a few extra hours of tuition that actually does not help them. Most of our children are falling prey to pedophiles and opportunists. I also wish to reiterate that holiday tuition is still prohibited. Stern action will be taken against persons who go against this directive. Parents, it's holiday time. And I have to confess, I'm totally shocked by the clips that I have seen of young children in discourse. I'm shocked. I'm totally shocked. How don't you know where your 12-year-old is in the afternoon? How don't you know that? Why would you allow your daughter or son, for that matter, to be exposed to these really dangerous habits of going out in the afternoons for disco, partaking drink and drugs, right? And engaging actually in acts that all of us would be ashamed not only to engage in, but to actually see. And so I'm really tired of getting these clips of our young children, right, in these discotheques. You need to take responsibility for these children. Honestly, it's actually a totally embarrassing situation, and it's a shame. We have let them down. We have refused to teach them. We have refused to guide them. We have placed other activities that we're undertaking above the right of these children to a normal childhood, because these discos are not normal childhood at 2 o'clock in the afternoon for both our young boys and girls. And I get these clips every single day. It's happening all over our country. And so I actually challenge our parents to ensure that they know where their children are during the holiday break. 2 months is not too long to look after your child. It is not. It's not too long. And it's also not too long, right, to actually lay a good foundation for these children. So I think all of us must take this responsibility seriously. If we find children outside at a certain time, it doesn't really matter whether it's your child or not. If that child comes from your community, send them home. Send them home and talk to their parents. Save them now. It's still possible to do that. In a few years, it won't be possible to save them. It will be too late already. And so again, as my colleagues have done, I'm truly appealing to our parents. Let's take our responsibility seriously, and especially during this holiday season. Ladies and gentlemen, the candidates whose results we're releasing today will form the second cohort to be admitted to secondary schools under the 100% transition policy. The ministry has already conducted a mapping of vacancies in all categories of schools. We're ready to admit more learners under the free-day secondary education program. The ministry will work with relevant agencies to ensure that no candidate misses a place in secondary school. We will work with relevant authorities and agencies to ensure that all our candidates find a place in secondary school. Our Basic Education Principal Secretary, Dr. Kipsang, has already released a circular outlining details of the program. I'm happy to announce that the ministry has now managed to stamp out cases in which private schools operated multiple examination centers with the aim of engaging in unethical practices meant to enable them record favorable rankings in our national examinations. In this scheme, the school's registered students considered brighter in separate centers while leaving those viewed as weaker in other centers. This practice has been addressed and the affected schools have been listed for action. It's a directive of His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta that all candidates, parents and guardians break for the Christmas festivities, having already known the schools to which the candidates have been admitted. As a result, the ministry's relevant departments have put in place all mechanisms to ensure that the selection exercise is completed as quickly as possible. We will launch the Form 1 selection exercise on Monday, the 3rd of December, 2018. I want to clearly state that there will only be one selection process. There will be no second selection. We will do it once and we will do it well. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, I wish to focus on the actual 2018 KCPE examination results. The 2018 KCPE examination was conducted professionally between the 30th of October and the 1st of November 2018. A total of 183,497 contracted professionals, including 27,354 supervisors, 65,107 invigilators, 54,322 security officers, 27,161 center managers, 918 examination management directors, 1,844 security officers manning containers, and 6,791 drivers were deployed into the examination administration team. A total of 1,052,364 candidates sat the 2018 KCPE examination. I'll repeat that. A total of 1,052,364 candidates sat the 2018 KCPE examination. Of this, 527,294, which translates into 50.1%, were boys. So again, 527,294, which translates into 50.1%, were boys. 525,070, which translates into 49.9%, are girls. In the 2017 KCPE, 993,718 candidates sat the exam. It means that the candidature increased by 58,626, or 5.9% in 2018 when compared to 2017. The percentage increase in the number of female candidates is 6.9, and it was slightly higher than that of male candidates, which was 5.72. An analysis of candidature trends by gender in the last 5 years indicates that the percentage increase in the number of girls has consistently been higher than that of boys over this period. 23 counties out of our 47 counties registered more female candidates compared to male. These 23 counties that actually deserve our commendation and recognition are the following: Kakamega, Nairobi, Meru, Bungoma, Vihiga, Siaya, Kitui, Embu, Kisumu, Makueni, Machakos, Nakuru, Elgeyo Marakwet, Kisii, Nyamira, Tharaka Nithi, Kericho, Uasin Gishu, Kirinyaga, Trans Nzoia, Nandi, Mombasa, and Bomet. Tumjipigie makofi. Congratulations. The number of candidates who were absent decreased by 14.18%, from 9,726 in 2017 to 8,347 in 2018. I've asked the Quality Assurance and Standards Directorate to conduct a fresh audit to track the candidates who are absent, to account for each and every one of them. In terms of counties and number of candidates, 4 counties have continuously had the largest number of candidates. These are Nairobi with 59,302, Nakuru with 52,910, Kakamega, which is my home, with 50,860, and Bungoma with 48,001. We also have Kiambu with 42,000. Performance of candidates. In the 2018 KCPE examination, the overall performance has improved compared to last year. Analysis show that since the new tough measures meant to end cheating were first implemented in 2016, the performance, which was lowest in 2016, has started rising. A clear indicator that teachers are now seriously focused on their work, and that candidates also work hard in class, knowing that only hard work will count, and not the occasional cheating that had become common in some centers. I also note that female candidates performed better than their male counterparts in English, Kiswahili, and Kenyan Sign Language. I repeat that. I also note that female candidates performed better than their male counterparts in English, in Kiswahili, and in Kenyan Sign Language. On the other hand, male candidates performed better than their female counterparts in mathematics, in science. You know the chairman should be clapping for everybody. So, male candidates performed better than their female counterparts in mathematics, in science, social studies, and religious education. Ladies and gentlemen, this year, the top candidate scored 453 marks. So we had 2 candidates that scored 453 marks. I'm happy to note that the number of candidates scoring 400 and above marks in 2018 has shot up significantly. a clear indicator that the number of quality grades is rising. The number of candidates scoring 400 marks and above rose to 12,273, which translates into 1.17%, from 9,846 last year, which actually translated to less than 1%. The number of quality grades too has improved in the other mark ranges. I wish to commend all teachers, parents and candidates for this good showing, which must be sustained in the coming years. So ladies and gentlemen, I will go through a very, very short table, basically to give you an indication of how well our candidates did. And I'd like to say before I even go further that over 50% of the candidates scored over 250 marks. So these results are actually ones that all of us as parents and teachers should be proud of. So in the 401 to 500 range, this year we had 12,273. As I said, last year we had 9,846. In 2016 we even had lower figures, and that was 5,143. 301 to 400 marks, we had 228,414, which is higher than what we had in 2017. 2017, 307. So in 2017 we had 217, 307, 21,007 and 307. In 2016 we had 207, 141. Between 201 and 300 we have 574,927, which is also a very good number. 101 to 200 we had 234,573, and between 0 and 100 we had very few. We had about 2,177. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you've got all those figures right. I hope you have. Have you? You get them? Okay. So we'll repeat them. So the number of candidates scoring 400 marks and above, 12,273. The number of candidates scoring 301 to 400, 228,414. 201 to 300 marks, 574,927. 101 to 200, 234,573. And from 1 to 100, 2,177. So I hope you've got those numbers down now. Ladies and gentlemen, this year, the ministry continued implementing deliberate interventions aimed at enabling special needs children excel in their learning, in line with His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta's commitment to provide access to quality education for children with special needs. To this end, I wish to announce that a national psycho-education assessment and research center has been completed at the Kenya Institute of Special Education, Nairobi, and it's ready for launch. Additionally, we prepared and administered special national examination papers for candidates with special needs in line with His Excellency the President's directive. We have also increased financing for special and integrated schools. This year, 2,495 candidates with special needs sat the KCPE examination, with the highest candidate scoring 446 marks, which is an improvement compared to last year's results. Last year, 2,038 special needs candidates sat the examination, with the top candidate scoring 426. So this year we have 446. This improvement is testimony to the fact that special needs children have been given a fair and conducive environment. And when that happens, they excel in their studies. We stepped up measures against cheating, and starting with a pre-examination monitoring exercise that all of you, I think, were privy to in the second term. So we started this process with a pre-examination monitoring exercise in the second term. As a result, most of the would-be cases of cheating were prevented. However, during the monitoring exercise, our vigilant teams discovered 4 candidates guilty of impersonation. These 4 will have their results cancelled. They will, however, be allowed to sit for their exams next year. I wish to inform all candidates and their parents or guardians that the KCPE examination results will be collected by respective schools from the sub-county education offices. Candidates should therefore collect their results from their respective examination centers. Individual candidates' results can also be accessed by sending a candidate's index number through the short message service to the following number: 20076. 20076. This service will be available immediately after this event. Head teachers will be required to download and print the online result slips for candidates in their schools. They will also be required to authenticate the same before they are released to parents, to guardians, or to candidates. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this has been a wonderful journey, and I'm truly grateful to all my colleagues, to teachers, parents, and to the candidates for having allowed us to have this amazing journey from when we started in 2016 to where we've actually arrived today. I'd also like to say that we have made progress, and we hope that very soon cheating will truly become a thing of the past, and that no parent will give away their hard-earned money to buy fake papers, because I think we've proved this time around that anything that was out there was actually fake, and that none of our exam papers was leaked. So I'd like to thank you very, very much, and to now declare the 2018 KCPE examination results officially released. I wish all our candidates success in their future endeavors, and I'd like to ask you to stand up so that we can observe a minute of silence for the candidates from Alliance, Nikita Kayer, who passed away, but for all the other candidates who passed away during this examination season as well. Thank you very, very much. Mungu awabariki wote. Asanteni.
Congratulations again.
Thank you very much.
Good job.
Asanteni sana. Thank you very, very much.
Going to meet now and plan next year's program. There's a lot of things that we need to do.
You've been watching the Cabinet Secretary for Education, Amina Mohamed, address the press over the release of the KCPE examination results. Various figures have come through from that, and she did say that 1,052,000 candidates sat the examinations, out of which 50.1% were boys and 49.9% were girls. That's in fact a 6.9% increase in female candidates. Overall, the examination results are an improvement from last year. She was standing and speaking at the Star of the Sea Primary School in Mombasa, and that is where we are going to get the final word regarding who has achieved what in these results. The top mark was shared by two candidates who scored 453 marks. That is pretty impressive, as my guests in studio seem to think so as well, based on their murmurs whilst Amina Mohamed was speaking. And we will cross over to studio shortly to hear what they have to say and their feedback. 12,273 students scored above 400 marks, and that is up from around 9,046 from last year. So overall, it seems like there has been a general improvement in the results, and also over 50% of the pupils scored over 250 marks. And there were a number of special needs students. That number stood at 2,495. Last year, of course, the government said that the government started day wings in boarding schools to cater for more children in need of opportunities in secondary schools. And of course, this time around, the Cabinet Secretary for Interior has tasked chiefs to ensure that all students within their areas of jurisdiction have joined secondary schools. So that, of course, is a development coming up this year. All right, let me engage my guests here in studio now. I have a rather large panel of experts in the education sector. Welcome to you all, and I will start right at the end. Tony Kimuri, a parent and also a board member at the Aga Khan Primary School. Thanks for joining us. Beside him is Nelly Wanjiru Ngugi, a teacher at Riara Primary School. Next to her is Emmanuel Monyasa, the country manager at Owezo. Pleasure to have you with us. And beside him is Professor Hezron Mogambi, a lecturer at the University of Nairobi, and my immediate left is Andiwo Obondo, an education policy analyst. Thanks all to you for joining us on this very, very important day, as about 1 million pupils wait to find out what they achieved. Let me start with you, Tony, at the far end. What is your initial reaction and response to the news given so far by the Cabinet Secretary?
We are happy and impressed by the precise timings that the exam has been released, and I will be able to take one or two, and I will actually applaud the Cabinet Secretary for saying that there will be only one selection, not two like the other times. That now makes everybody much more comfortable, because they will be anticipating one selection, and everybody will be happy to know which school they have been admitted in Form 1. And the other thing will be also that the precision that they have done the exams with, and the way they have released it, they should also ensure that the letters for admission should leave one particular point to the headquarters of the sub-county, so that at least all the children can be able to get their letters in time, so that at least parents can be able to know where my child is going for school, and where my child has been admitted, for proper planning and arrangements on the same.
All right, thank you very much. Andy, well, I'll come to you now. 453 was the top mark shared by two candidates. How does that sound to you?
I think that to me sounds good. The only problem that I get from the presentation by the Minister of the CS is the fact that we have just slightly over 50% success rate in this exam, though generally we have observed some remarkable improvements owing to the reforms that have been implemented. But I think as a country we need to discuss, if we have more than 50% of our candidates failing to get the pass rate, there should be a problem. But I think we need to go back and interrogate teaching and learning, because if candidates are not able to achieve the threshold that we set for moving to the next level, then I think there's a problem beyond the exams. And what I think we need to get back to is, in as much as we would want to encourage, it's a good policy to make sure that all the learners, all the candidates transit to secondary schools. But I think this is worrying the level at which we push them. If they are not able to meet the pass mark, I think we need now to, the same zeal that we've had using the multi-agency approach to coordinate and oversee the exams, we need to take back that now to what happens before the exams, teaching and learning processes, so that we can be able next year to see a slightly different figure in terms of the numbers that are able to pass the threshold that we've set.
Nelly, do you agree with that comment, being a teacher yourself?
Personally, I want to first of all thank God for this far. We came here and we wished the examiners, the candidates, the very best. And to be sincere, from what we have seen from the CS, it's evident that they have done well. Congratulations to them. Now again, joining him, I believe that so many candidates, having been told 50% have not met the threshold, it shall be a challenge in the next 1 week during the Form 1's admission. So I truly agree with him. We need to do something to see all of them join high schools, because this transition, we have just heard from the CS, the transition will be 100% from class 8 to Form 1. So we are yet to see that. That's so encouraging. We are yet to see that happening. Right.
Okay, great. And Emmanuel, great to have you back with us. Your initial thoughts on some of the key points from the Cabinet Secretary?
Thank you. First, I have to commend them for getting these results out on time. That helps parents a lot in terms of planning for next year. That also helps us to make sure that Form 1s join school in January and not in March, as it could happen in the past, which is a very good thing. I am happy about a number of things, but also unhappy about a few, which I think we'll delve into later. But I am particularly happy about the CS noting that the teenage pregnancy problem is multi-sectoral. It goes beyond the Ministry of Education, it goes beyond the school, because I think the Ministry of Education can only deal with pregnancies that happen due to interaction of learners and other players in the school. When learners are at home, like now they've gone on long holiday, if they get pregnant at home, that clearly is beyond the mandate of the Ministry of Education. And I want to see a situation where all other players come into fore to try and take action to make sure that this doesn't happen. I want to see the institution of the Office of the President, through the county commissioner, sub-county commissioner, the chief, the assistant chief, play their role in making sure that this problem of teenage pregnancy goes away.
All right, thank you. And Professor, in your view, what was one of the key highlights from the Cabinet Secretary's speech?
Several key highlights. One, just to note that as the CS has noted, there was generally an improvement in performance. And I think that is important as we go and discuss many other issues. First of all, the fact that generally the performance improved is a key indicator that we are moving somewhere. Number two, I think although the CS noted that there was good enrollment over the years in terms of gender parity, in terms of how many female candidates we had, the contradiction was, if you look at the quality grades, performance in subjects, she noted that the girls performed well in English, Kiswahili, and Kenya Sign Language. Comparatively, when you look at the boys, they performed well in more subjects, maths, science, social studies, and religious education. So in terms of quality, that is something to look at. You know, although we say the numbers are good, but the quality coming out of the girl child or the girls who are candidates there, then is something to look at and say that although we are putting them in school, what are the quality grades that they are getting? Three, in terms of the number of students who scored higher marks, we had an improvement this year compared to last year. That is 400 and above, moving from 9,000, slightly over 9,000 to 12,000, which is an increase of 1.17%. again goes to exactly what I've said earlier, that there was a general increase in terms of the performance. And I think I also want to join my colleagues in saying that we now need to move, apart from the numbers, this movement of saying that we want every child to be in school. Apart from that, we also need now to move to look at quality, the quality of teaching, the quality of teachers we have, the quality of equipment and all the assistance that teachers and schools need, the school environment. What, I mean, the chairman of NEC, Professor Magoha, talked about the school environment, the PS. What kind of environments do our children learn in? Because that has a net effect in terms of how they perform finally. Yeah. So even when you talk about teenage pregnancies, this becomes more complicated, because where do these children come from and how do they come to school? What time do they come to school? What kind of school environments are there? Environment at home, the social environment, because the school happens to be in a social environment. So that when we look at all these issues, we look at the wider context instead of looking at the school and blaming one stakeholder, who is the teacher and who is really been given this role to perform in school.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, before we delve deeper into some of the key issues, at this moment, Nelly, perhaps I'll ask you, being a teacher, what would your message be to a pupil who is watching now and waiting to hear what results they receive? Because no doubt it is a very nerve-wracking moment for every child.
Very good. At this moment, they are receiving their results. I would wish that they receive the results with a lot of calmness, and this calmness should come from the individual candidates, the parents, guardians, and the teachers as well. And as the CS has said, we need to accept the results first, and at the same time, as elders, we guide them, give them counseling, and show them the necessary steps to take from there, because if they overreact, this is the time they go messing up. So we need to take care a lot. We need to receive the results with a lot of calmness, give the necessary guidance, assistance, and like we have just been told, the high school's chances are there. So they should just relax, receive the results, and at the same time know they have done their very best. The KCPE exam is not the end of everything. So they should understand, if I've not done like I was expecting to do, there is much more to do in life. There are technical things that you can do in life and succeed. It's not just a matter of academic. So once they understand that, with the guidance of us as teachers, parents, and as well as the society at large. And again, we talked about pressure. The pressure that we give to these learners, to us as teachers, and to the society as large will determine what kind of reaction we expect from these candidates as from now. So it's a matter of taking the results, accepting them, and knowing if I've not done my very best or what I was expecting to do, there is much more you can do to achieve the very best in life.
All right, and Tony, in your capacity here as a parent, how critical is it that parents also receive the news of their children's results in a positive and calm manner? Because many a times it's the parents that could react rather negatively as well, that may have a long-standing impact on their child.
Well, I think all of us in sobriety, we should definitely know that at least the kids give the best, that as it were, and I mean we do not need to really overemphasize the grades that our children ought to have gotten, because I know, I mean, an exam after 8 years will definitely throw the kid off balance. And it is also wise for us to make sure and enable the kids enjoy the times that they have spent in school, knowing that this is not the end of learning. We have actually 8 years of the basic education. We still have got 4 more years of the basic education. And it is also good because an appreciated child is a child that is bound to perform very well. And so I would like to urge all my parents to accept the reality. This is what my child, my boy, my girl has gotten right now. And there's still room for improvement, because if you overstretch and overemphasize and ridicule the child that I thought that this is what you are supposed to have gotten, or your work was just play, play, play and nothing else, and now we have seen the results. We always like pushing our kids to corners that ourselves would not have wanted to be pushed. And you find that a C student was expecting an A from the child. And literally, it also depends on what you've invested. Because if you didn't invest well, then that means that your child will not have performed very well. And I would also like to highlight on one more issue. I also want to commend the government, because this has been my prayer. We have a special unit at our school, and we were finding it not very healthy. You subject a special kid to an exam that is being tackled by ordinary kids. That was not very good for the past years, but we really are grateful that the government saw that need and they saw it coming, and they have really tried to do exactly that. We have actually even seen that the best special child had 446 marks. That's very commendable. Let us treat these children as they are, because they are our children. They are special children. They have special needs. So we also need to commend the government and to go back more into dealing with these cases. The other thing I would like to just say on the same is that the environment on learning in our country is really not very equal. And we are hoping with this era that the government is taking serious steps, because we have had quite a number of systems of education. From 1985, we had the 844 system. The government only launched the program and never followed with many, because you have to do capitation for every child, so that at least all of us will have equal level playing field, so that at least we can also perform equally. Because you see that like children in Nairobi or the urban areas are a little bit more privileged. So if the government follows, like they are actually just about to launch the CBC curriculum, and it is also very important that the government launches a curriculum and then follows it up with capitation, so that at least all of us can have an environment that is conducive for learning for all of us, because we don't have public or private kids. We all need to have a level field.
All right, well, thank you. That's a message key for parents as well, based on what you, Tony, said earlier. Just a message for our viewers. These are the phone numbers that you ought to call to inform us of top performers. Please take note of these numbers: 0719 038 383. That's 0719 038383. Or you can also call 0719 038808. That is 0719 038808. So use those numbers to inform us of top performers. And you can also, remember, tweet us at NTV Kenya at Smriti Vidyarthi with your input to this discussion as well. Andiwa, I'll come to you next. What really can be done or should be done to ensure a conducive environment and a level playing field, as Tony and also Professor have talked about? Because clearly across the country it is not level at all.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think before I get to that question, I would want to add my voice to encouraging parents and learners and candidates to accept what they have received. But what we need to focus on, both parents, teachers, and the candidates, is to look at what kind of skills, competencies, and values they have acquired over the last 8 years, and begin to discuss with these children how they begin to make that determine what they want to do in future. Not because you may have be having 453, but if we don't focus on what does that mean in terms of skills, competence, and values, it may not actually do a lot. But coming back to your question, how do we level the playing field? One, I agree with my fellow parent, that one, we need to look at how do we capitate the schools, giving them the money that they need. And I think we may want to look at also if we can be able to go back to some kind of equalization fund, where the ministry can be able to look at schools differently, saying if you are a special needs case, maybe the facilities and materials you need are more than the regular schools need. Can we give you a little much more? If we are giving the other schools maybe 1,000 or 2,000, can we be able to give you more? Like I think for primary schools or for secondary schools. And then the other thing that we need to do is looking at how do we make sure that you have teachers? Because I think the biggest problem also we have, particularly schools that are in rural areas or in the far-flung areas like Turkana and Wajir and Garissa, that we don't have adequate teachers, enough teachers. Most teachers that we have in those areas are teachers that are employed by parents, and therefore some of them may be qualified or not, but they don't have the same compensation as the teachers we have in other areas. So I think that is also something that we need to look at. Then we also need to look at facilities. If we want to make sure that we are on level playing field, we look at classroom, because in this country we have schools that are still ran under trees. We have schools that are kids that are still sitting on top of stones to take lessons. They can't compare with our children in Nairobi and other areas. So I think we also need to look at how do we make sure we go out of our way, as much as we want to make sure that everybody gets a chance in Form 1, can we move in also to improve facilities? And we target those kind of improvements.
Emmanuel, this has been the long-standing issue for several years. We have seen children learning under trees or on rocks. Are we headed in the right direction to change this? Has that been implemented, or are we at a standstill?
I think we have a big problem in terms of planning as a country that goes beyond the Ministry of Education, but the Ministry of Education needs to take specific note of this. If you go to Gatundu, go to Odaya, I've been there, you find big schools without children. Yeah, very many classrooms, everything, and no children. And it's not that someone favored those areas, it's just that the demographics have changed. A lot of the people you find in those areas are old people, and most of the childbearing natives of those areas have moved. They are in Nairobi, and Nairobi does not have much space for public schools anymore. So that is a problem. Then you go to some other areas where most rural natives of those areas are still there, but they are poor, they are in marginalized areas of Kenya, and you find you have so many children, and those children cannot get classrooms. They are learning under trees. And not just classrooms, I would rather learn under a tree, and I sat under a tree for my class 1 up to 3 myself, but have a teacher. And the problem is that those areas don't have teachers. The teachers don't want to go to hardship areas. It is important that TSC thinks carefully about what to make a teacher want to work in certain areas. And also for, as I mentioned, the planning issue that faces Kenya, a lot of these teachers are also parents at the same time. So they don't want to be in a place where their children will not access certain amenities that they need as they raise their children. So there is this bigger problem beyond the Ministry of Education on how do we spread social services across the country to make sure that if you post me to Maralal as a teacher, I am able to go there with my family, my children will get education there, my family will get medical services in Maralal. If that is not happening, what other incentives do you put in place to make me want to work in that area? Otherwise, then other areas remain marginalized in terms especially of teacher distribution, and then facilities which go back to the capitation problem that Tony mentioned. One other issue that I want us to make sure we keep in sight, schools have closed now. I know the CS has pointed out the problem of holiday tuition. I think holiday tuition is bad. I have never agreed with it. I have never agreed with the idea of children going to school on weekends. But I also want us to keep in mind that Kenyan parents are not homogeneous. You have a parent in a slum in Nairobi. I don't want to name any. But you have a parent in a slum in Nairobi who is working for a security firm, leaves the house at 6 in the morning, goes to work, comes back at 6 every day, Monday to Monday. That is their job. If we insist that this parent is being irresponsible by not knowing where the child is at 2 p.m., are we being fair? Because this parent must go to their job to feed this child. We have other structures that need to make sure these children are not in discourse, and these structures need to be activated to function.
All right, and Professor, what's your comment on that? Because the Cabinet Secretary spoke rather sternly on that issue of the need for parents to be responsible and to know where their children are majority of the time of day. But as Emmanuel brings up, there are also challenges around that for certain parents.
Thank you. That is very true. What my friend is saying here is very true. But again, you ask yourself, is school or are teachers the only one or the only ones who can be left to be in charge of children and to take care of them and to impart what my friend here talks about, the skills, the competencies and the values? Is school the only place where children can grow well? That is the question. If the answer is no, then we have a challenge. If the answer is yes, we still have a challenge. That is why I think the Cabinet Secretary and the Permanent Secretary talked about, the CS talked about parents taking responsibility. And I think as parents, and I'm talking also as a parent, we are taking the easier way out. Okay? What do we do with these children who have come on holiday? They are here at home. What do we do? The best way is to look for money and pay for holiday tuition and have them there. What are we saying? We are saying that we don't want to take our central responsibilities of parenting, and instead we are giving these responsibilities to teachers. For heaven's sake, these teachers are also parents. They need to be released to take care of their children because they are also parents. And that is why we are putting the teacher, and I've always complained that the teacher has been put into a very complicated role, that during school time, he's supposed to be taking care of these children. And these children, as my friend has said, come from diverse cultures, diverse backgrounds. Yet after that, again, he's been given or added more responsibilities to take care of these children. When will he be taking care of his parental responsibilities? So I think this is something we need to take. This is national discourse. This is something we need to discuss as a country, you know, to say, what do we do to children in certain circumstances? And it can only start at the family level. And he has put it very well. That parent will need to think about, what do I do, or where do I take these, my children, in this circumstance? And the CS talked about the school environment. And now the home environment is very important. So what do I do in this circumstance where I stay or where I reside? What do I do when my child comes home so that they don't get into gangs in this kind of place, so they don't get into drug abuse and other undesirable, you know, kind of behavior? So it's something to think about as a country. But as I say, this discourse starts right in the family before it's cascaded to the national level. So it is parents. And I'm very happy that, you know, one of the representatives is here, and we are here as parents as well, to think about what we do and not think about quick fixes, like releasing our children to school or to certain centers for holiday. When actually, if it may, it would have been possible that, if it were possible, that these parents will take actually holiday, so to speak, from their workplaces to spend more time with these children who have been released from school, because as it were, they take more time in school. If these parents decided and structured their lives in such a manner that we are going to receive our young children, what do we do? There are two things. Or others, and he mentioned about urban places, will take them to their parents and grandparents, you know,
to be looked after.
Which are actually quick fixes, because I mean they don't want to be responsible directly
or
with what they do.
Or at times, as Emmanuel said, perhaps they cannot be responsible if they are, you know, at work 12 hours a day.
I really, and you are a parent, and and let me now be very brutal to you and say, you represent one half of parents.
Yes.
You are a professor of the university.
Yes.
On one side,
yes,
you have this parent in Madare, in Kibera, whose next door neighbor is a prostitute, the next door neighbor is a gangster, the next. Now schools have closed, and this fellow has no choice of taking leave because it's a casual laborer. On every morning you wake up to go to industrial area to earn for what you will eat that day.
True.
So you don't have an option of leave. It is very challenging, and I want us, and the reason I'm saying this is not saying let us have centers. I'm saying we need to activate other players in our society. These other players are the sub-county administration structure, which will make sure that there are no places showing pornography to children during the day.
Yes.
Yeah, these are players. They need to assume their responsibility as well, so that, because even parents who have done very well for themselves have their children hooked on drugs in this city, because other structures that need to make sure these drugs are not circulating and these pornographic videos are not being shown in places are dysfunctional. So for me, I want the discourse around these youth when they are on holiday to go beyond parent and school and bring in other players, because other players are important.
So really it is a responsibility of many sectors. There is so much to discuss and we are short of time, so I just want to move on to one point that the Cabinet Secretary made, and that is that none of the 9 papers administered in KCPE was leaked. The few cases of attempted cheating were nipped in the bud. Nelly, this surely is something to celebrate if none of the papers were leaked at all?
Yeah.
Your thoughts on that?
Personally, I want to thank everybody, all the stakeholders, starting with the teachers like I am, and the candidates and everybody in the society, because for sure we shown a lot of integrity in the way the exams were executed. But however, I must say that the exams, the way they were carried out, there was a bit of militarizations in which we saw armed policemen and women inside the examinations rooms. And this made some of the candidates feel a bit of anxiety, they feared. And personally, being a teacher, I happened to interact with some of them in which they felt like the first paper should not be mathematics. They were feeling like it should be a rotation kind of, so that they start with a certain exam this year, another paper another year, because mathematics being the first exam, they tend to be in a bit of anxiety. And now this militarization again, how I wish, okay, the way the policemen and women were doing their duties, the way they were undertaking their duties was good enough, but again, they should maybe keep off inside the exam rooms. Yes, we need security as per se, but again, for these are minors. Let them keep off a bit. But I must thank all the stakeholders for the way they helped these candidates to do the exam in a very conducive environment, and especially starting from the president himself. We saw him visiting schools, the DP, the CS herself. She actually came to the school where I teach, and she gave a bit of encouragement. Those kids, once they got to the exam room, I believe they did it with a level of esteem, because they saw even the CS is encouraging them, is wishing them the very best. Yeah.
Okay, yes, so some positives came out of it, but of course then, as you mentioned, it is quite intimidating to have that much security in an exam room, especially for, you know, a relatively young child. Tony, your view on the way forward, you have commented on perhaps what needs to be improved, but if there was a certain area, you know, going forward, looking at the following year, where really can we improve?
Actually, I will be able to first of all say this, that we have heard the word marginalization from the time that we were young kids, and we should now thank God that devolution is here with us. And people get marginalized because of the choice of leaders they put in power. Right now we have quite a number of governors who have done impressive work in terms of development in their counties. And because now like ECDs is now purely under the county government. And I would like actually also to join in to the same discourse that let the Kenyan parent own up to their children. Like what the learned professor has said, all of us are parents in our own rights, and we inculcate morals and good behaviors in our children from our homes. our children will not be messed up by what they see on television. Partially it will be, yes, but if I've brought up, the Bible says that bring up a child in the way he should go. All of us in this country are parents who ascribe to some certain religious virtues, and that is what we should inculcate in our children. Now, the other thing will be in 2015 or something like that. The government, then there was a policy that was launched on sexuality and reproductive health. Now, we have quite a number of players who are coming into this. We have the pupil to the pupil interrelationship. We have the teacher to the pupil interrelationship, and we have the neighbors and strangers who hover around schools. Now, the government is the government, and nobody can be able to do that. If the government does its bit, let us also as parents own up to our failures and everything, so that at least we can be able to realize this is my child, and I need to be very careful on what I train my child into be. So that at least at the end of the day, I will be able to suffer singularly. Whether I have a job, I've actually been in Europe, and you find that at least a woman works during the night and a male works during the day. So these children, when they are in school, either I'm working at night and my wife is working during the day. So all of us must be able to, because parenting is not a one-off thing. You must realize I must work to put bread on my children's table, but I must also be able to bring up my children as respectable members of the society, so that at least I don't leave that to the teacher. Like, I mean, you cannot leave, the teacher has books to mark, he has kids to take care of, he has competencies that he needs to deliver, he has got another curricula that he has to cover, and at the end of the day, you've been seeing teachers with heaps of books that they're going home to mark homework. So you cannot purely leave everything to the teacher. So I'm calling upon our parents of this country, own up. When you give birth to a child, make sure that that child feeds, make sure that that child has a roof, and make sure that that child is uprightly brought. You cannot negate that responsibility to a house help, to a teacher, to a neighbor, or to anybody else. Own up to your problems. At least even if you have to do some family planning, give birth to children that you can be able to fed and take care of, so that at least at the end of the day, when the government puts its foot forward, like what they have done, we did not have any leakage of examination, then they also need to rein and bring these sexuality and reproductive health closer to the kids, so that at least I will also have my role as a Christian or any other religious person to bring up my children the way they should definitely be. Education, meaning that it is actually the basic economic, sustainable economic activity that we train our children from the time they are young. And we need to really emphasize that, and the government should also follow what they are implementing. They should also follow it with the capitation, so that at least we can have good schools, and let there be harmony between the national government and the county government. So at least we see, because education is very basic, and it is a right to every child to have that education. They must have a conducive environment for them to learn and to compete with the other children across the country equally.
Right, very well said, and clearly it is a huge responsibility on a parent. Once, you know, they have that child, they need to know this is a lifetime responsibility. All right, thanks very much. Just briefly, as we wind up, I'll just go across to get your final thoughts and comments. But Andibo, just let's touch on the point of the fact that there's been an increase in female candidates, 6.9%, because the issue of the girl child often comes up, and girls being educated. So if you can very briefly give me your thoughts on that.
Thanks very much. I think maybe that this is coming out now because of the campaigns we've had over the years about promoting girls' education and focus on trying to make sure that girls are given equal opportunity. But if you look at now where we are, we seem to be silent on the boy child, who in some cases, I think in Kenya, where we are beginning to see decline in their enrollment and performance. And I think moving forward, I don't want to say that we de-emphasize the campaign on girls, but we need to look at both gender, both boys and girls, to see why is it that in some regions in Kenya, boys are not going to school. Boys are not participating. In some regions in Kenya, girls are doing better. So I think national average, we seem to see this as a trend, but I think it differs from one country to the other, or from one region to the other. So moving forward, we just need to look at what is stopping girls from going to school in this particular region, what is stopping boys going to school in this particular region, so that we can be able to address the issues that are affecting both boys and girls from participating in school.
Okay. All right, thank you so much. I'm afraid I'm under instruction that we have to, in fact, wind up now, because we do have the results that we can put on our screens. So I will put the conversation to a close, but thank you all so much for your contribution. It is, of course, very helpful to society at large, but also to those parents and those pupils that are currently experiencing these results. So thank you all so much, Tony, Nelly, Emmanuel, and also Hezron, and beside me, Mr. Andy. Well, thank you so much for your time on NTV today. You are watching this live special coverage of the KCPE 2018 results, and there you have the marks on your screens and the numbers, facts and figures. 400 marks and above, that was achieved by 12,273 candidates, and then, as you can see, 301 to 400 marks achieved by 228,400.